Welcome to the Rated Rabbi Sports Card Podcast, where sports cards and pop culture meet the 1984 All-Star Game. I'm your host, Rabbi David Spinrad. Welcome back. This is episode 12, Stretch. Let me set the scene. It's just about game time around 5 o'clock, Tuesday, July the 10th. It's packed house, bright sun, breeze picking up a little bit, deep shadows under the overhang. Giants play-by-play announcer Hank Greenwald is taking over the PA address duties right now. He's introduced the starting lineups. He's just introduced Hank Greenberg as the American League honorary captain. And Hank says, and introducing the National League's honorary captain, one of the most popular players ever to wear a San Francisco Giants uniform, the 1969 All-Star Game most valuable player, and the 1969 National League most valuable player. Welcome back, number 44, Willie McCovey. McCovey comes jogging out of the dugout. Relatively recently retired. He's just retired in 1980, not yet elected to the Hall of Fame. McCovey's shaking hands, giving fives to the players on the National League. Place is going nuts. Let me show you the program from that 1984 All-Star Game. I'm going handheld here. I'm going to describe it best I can for you on the podcast. For folks watching on YouTube, I'll do my best to be as steady as I can here. It's actually a pretty cool program. 1984 All-Star Game, San Francisco, California, Candlestick Park, banners across the top. You got the MLB logo centered on the top. Golden Gate Bridge. It's actually a beautiful graphic design. Golden Gate Bridge way in the background. The near background's got a cable car. And then the three Giants legends of, well, maybe of all time, but it's awful hard to leave Bonds out of this conversation. I mean, he was going to Hall of Fame even before he juiced, and man, that dude was a beast. But this is not about Barry Bonds. This is about Stretch, Willie McCovey, who has the biggest picture on that program, front and center. Look at all those bats up there on his left shoulder. He just barely stretches a big dude. How many bats are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bats on the shoulder. Batting gloves, big old Willie Mack smile, smaller pictures beneath him, Juan Marichal, the Dominican dandy in the high leg kick, and next to him, the say hey kid, Willie Mays, he's falling back, making a great catch out in center. It's weird though, right? I'm super excited that McCovey's the honorary captain, but it's so weird to see anything remembering Giants baseball from the 50s or the 60s that doesn't have Willie Mays as the central figure. You know, Mays is curiously absent from the 1984 All-Star Game. Not so curious, not so hard to know why. Mays and Mantle are banned from baseball by that dastardly villain, Bowie Kuhn. We're going to get to that whole situation and they're being banned from the game, keeping Willie Mays, right, the greatest Giant who ever was, keeping him from the All-Star Game. But we'll get that at another time. This is about Willie McCovey. It's a great cover. You got that Giants logo, the All-Star Game down there at the bottom. I love this. I got this at the game. Pretty cool. All right. Yeah, I'm a dork, but I'm pretty gentle and friendly. All right, Willie Lee McCovey. I always have known Willie McCovey's birthday because he and my dad, Stan the Man, Stanelvis, Cha-Cha, Stan Spinrad, they are both born on January 10th. McCovey's a little older, born January 10th, 1938. Happens to be from Mobile, Alabama, just like another all-time number 44, Hank Aaron. McCovey is a member of the four-decade team. His career stretched across 4 decades from 1959 to 1980, one of 31 players all time, one of 15 Hall of Famers who played in 4 decades. As a matter of fact, on that day at that All-Star game, there are 3 players whose careers also stretched 4 decades. They are Ricky Henderson, Jesse Orosco, and Tim Raines, 2 of the 3 in the Hall of Fame. All of them began in 1979. Raines plays until 2002, Orosco and Ricky until 2003. Willie McCovey is a 6-time All-Star and just dominates the 1960s, hits 300 home runs during the decade, ends his career with 521 long balls, tied with Ted Williams. Later, they would be tied by Frank Thomas, 521. Like I said, he retires in 1980. He is elected, and then he is enshrined in his first year of eligibility, 1986. He's enshrined forever in Cooperstown. I got some cool cards, just a couple cards I'm going to show you today, beginning with McCovey's rookie. McCovey, of course, breaks into the big leagues in 1959. He's called up at the end of July 30th, 1959 by the Giants because he had nothing left to prove in Phoenix. McCovey, at the time of his call-up, has 29 home runs. He's hitting .372 for the Phoenix Firebirds, a .459 on-base percentage, and a .759 slug. McCovey's first call of duty is he has to face Phillies legend Robin Roberts at Old Seal Stadium. And what does McCovey do in his very first game? McCovey goes 4 for 4, a pair of singles, a pair of triples. This is a story I grew up with my entire life because same dad I was talking about a minute ago, Stan Spinrad, used to tell me a story about he and his buddy Turner and Chesler were up at this like camp for poor kids, a San Francisco State camp in the Sierras. And they were huge Giant fans, Mays, and not quite yet time for Marichal, but Cepeda was on the scene. And then they had this other star come out, not out of nowhere, but you're a kid, you don't know. McCovey tears it up. He tells me a story about seeing the Sporting Green the next day, and oh my God, another Willie and another star. Camp Leonard, Stan Spinrad, 1959. McCovey will go on to win the NL Rookie of the Year. How many games does McCovey play to win Rookie of the Year? McCovey only plays in 52 games. In that short time, hits 13 home runs, .354 average, wins Rookie of the Year. I'm showing you, of course, I think one of the best cards from the 1960s, that 1960 McCovey rookie, selected by the youth of America, Willie McCovey, San Francisco Giants, tops all-star rookie, first base. It's got so much going for it. Let's take a look at it. First, it's a horizontal card. Some people don't like horizontal cards, but I don't know. There's something sweet about a horizontal card to me. It's busy, but it works for me. It's got the yellow oval with the writing in the middle, beautifully complemented by that green background. And then it's got the rookie trophy with the top hat. This always kind of reminds me a little bit of the Monopoly piece, that top hat, but it's not the rookie cup. It's like the big trophy with the player and the top hat and that square base that dominates the right side of the card. And then nice batting, like a posed batting picture of Willie McCovey on the left. It looks like the Polo Grounds. Just a beautiful, beautiful card. Gorgeous composition. This particular example is an all-time personal collection card. It was given to me raw as a gift for my rabbinic ordination from my oldest, bestest buddy, an all-time card friend. I've been opening packs with Adam since I was a wee lad, since I was, I don't know, 8 years old. He gave me this. He gave me a 1960 Cepeda. He gave me a 1960 Maze, and he gave me a 1963 Marichal. Beautiful, all of them raw. That would have been on 2013. Wonderful gift. Adam, if you are listening, thanks again. These are forever PC cards for me. All right, so McCovey dominates. One of the great memories, it really highlights that McCovey had a powerful swing. Some say the most powerful left-handed swing of all time, a dead pull hitter. One of his most famous at-bats, though, is not one that lives on with feelings and memories of joy and delight for Giants fans. It's Game 7 of the 1962 World Series. Matty Alou gets a base hit. Bottom of the ninth, right? Alou is on. Willie Mays steps in, doubles into the corner, but Alou stops at third because Roger Maris, everyone knows the home run, the 61 in 61, but Maris has a cannon out in right field. Alou gets the brakes put on him, stops at third. It's second and third. Ralph Terry, who would go on to win the World Series MVP in 1962 on the hill, facing Stretch. McCovey gets the first pitch, inside fastball. He sees it, he adjusts his swing, and he just rips the ball right at Bobby Richardson. The funny thing is, like, I feel pain is long before I was born, but all these little hurts that weren't healed until the Giants won the World Series in 2010. That was like a epigenetic inherited trauma for me. But I grew up with this story of this crushed ball, but right at Bobby Richardson, and the Yankees won the World Series, and the Giants would not return until 1989. Part of San Francisco Giant and Bay Area lore, and I want to show you an expression of that pain and suffering. Those of you at home, I'm going to narrate it. It is, of course, Peanuts, the great cartoonist Charles M. Schulz. And Schulz was a local guy. Remember, Schulz lived in Sebastopol. He owned an ice hockey rink in Santa Rosa, long-time cartoonist. I mean, come on, it's Peanuts, dude. I used to read Peanuts all the time. All those cartoons, the little specials, right? The Great Pumpkin. So here it is. This was published December 22nd, 1962, just a few months after the World Series. It's a 4-panel strip. The first one shows Charlie Brown and Linus sitting on a curb, heads in their hands, quietly, glumly, perhaps a tad morose. First panel, just like that. Second panel, exactly the same. Quiet, silent, staring off in the distance, lost in thought. First panel, the same. Second panel, the same. Third panel, the same as the other two. Absolute stony silence between our hero, Charlie Brown, and his good buddy, Linus. Finally, in the fourth panel, Charlie Brown throws his head back, opens up his mouth wide, and cries out, "Why couldn't McCovey have hit the ball just 3 feet higher?" Oh my God. That's those things I grew up with as a kid. I love this. He would actually publish a second one a few months later, I believe in February, a 3-panel this time. And he says it's almost the same as, "Why couldn't McCovey hit the ball just 2 feet higher?" Echoing the pain and suffering of Giants fans. And like the Yankees, how many World Series the Yankees win? Blah, blah, blah. God, I love to hate the Yankees. How many did this one mean anything? Yeah, of course, it's a World Series, but just another series. Anyway, McCovey goes on to win the MVP in 1969. Has a monster season. In 1969, McCovey hits 45 home runs, drives in 100 426. A 320 average. Now McCovey's career average is only around 270, so that's a high average for him. A 320 average, a 453 on base percentage, a 656 slug, and get this, during the season, McCovey was intentionally walked an incredible 45 times. Psh, Willie Mack. Hits 2 home runs to earn that All-Star MVP. Game was played at RFK. Homers in the second against Blue Moon Odom. Then comes back in the third off Denny McClain, the last pitcher to win 30. He's with them in 71. He's starting to get a little older, perhaps a little long in the tooth. 1974, 75, and most of 76. He plays for the San Diego Padres. And I always love that 74 card where it's like Washington, or was it say like National League, when they thought they were going to move to Washington. But I can never own a card of McCovey in anything but a Giants uniform. The 75 is a great card. It's actually taken before a game at Candlestick Park, but he's in a Padres uniform. Little known fact, at the very end of 76, McCovey plays 11 games for the A's. Right? That's kind of weird. So McCovey's at crossroads. He's 38 years old, 1977. The Giants take a shot on him. Comes back to the San Francisco Giants on a non-guaranteed contract, proceeds to make the team, becomes the starter on opening day, and it is said the roars were out of control. They were uproarious for McCovey as he returns to the Giants. He ends up winning Comeback Player of the Year in 1977. Hits 28 home runs, drives in 86, has 2 grand slams in 1 inning, which is highlighted on a 78 Topps card. I so wanted to show you the 78 Topps. I have this beautiful rack pack that I had to send back to BBCE because I didn't like the way it was wrapped. But I have an unopened rack with McCovey in the first cell. It's like, oh my God, first year I collected, and it's Willie McCovey. But the card that I have for my PSA graded master set of the 1984 All-Star Game is actually his 69. I think his 69, it's not only his MVP season, it might be his most beautiful. Let's look at it. I just went for a last name in yellow. I'm not a fetishist. I didn't need the last name in white. What I wanted was a gorgeous example. This 69, of course, the MVP, it is hard to find centered, right? And I really wanted a clean, fresh 69 McCovey to commemorate that season. Beautiful. Looks like he might be at Busch Stadium before a game. Message me if you or leave in the comments if you think that's right or wrong. I'm looking at the rim of the stadium, way up there on top. It looks like old Busch Stadium. I can see the S peeking out under the armpit, so he's for sure on the road. And that doesn't look like Candlestick at all. Just such a gorgeous card. And I always find Willie McCovey is quite handsome too. So, oh God, I love that card. That's my representation for you at home. 69 McCovey. What I love about McCovey is, he's one of those Hall of Famers like I don't know, Roy Campanella or Lou Brock. His cards aren't that expensive, and he's very close to my heart. All right. So McCovey continues to age, like we all. Decides to retire early in the season of 1980. And I remember seeing him. I know that my first game was 1978. I remember seeing Willie McCovey play, but he was nearing the end, but still, that was Willie McCovey, and that was always really cool to me because it connected me to the old Giants, to the guys like Mays and Marichal, who I never saw play. Connected to me all those great 1960s teams that my dad told me about, and the teams that it's such a great team. They'd always finish second, of course, except for 62. So McCovey retires, and because he's so beloved, right away the organization creates the Willie Mack Award, given annually for the most inspirational Giant. It's voted by by fellow teammates and by coaches and by the staff. Later on, they start to bring the fans into the vote. The Willie Mack Award, first winner 1980, Jack Clark. The year we've been talking about, 1984, would go to NL All-Star Bob Brenly. Two-time winners have only been three of them: Mike Krukow, love Kruk, JT Snow, and catcher Benji Molina. Of course, when the team moves to what's now Oracle Park, they christen, what do they call it? They rename that spot in China Basin by the Lefty O'Doul Bridge out past right field, William McCovey Cove, which is super cool. I always love the idiosyncrasy, and I can always remember the guys in kayaks trying to get the bombs from Bonds. Good memories. There's a statue of McCovey out on the other side of the cove on dry land. This beautiful stretch, McCovey home run swing, looking up, beautiful McCovey swing, and there are I'm kind of like bricks in the ground around him, highlighting all the Willie Mack awards. Couple final notes. Willie McCovey, because of those knees, they were arthritic, and in his later years, he's unfortunately he's wheelchair bound, and it was super sad. And as he ages, he has heart problems. When McCovey passed in 2018 at Stanford Hospital, and who was with Willie McCovey at his bedside? Close, dear, personal friend, Joe Morgan. I didn't know that, so I did a little research for this episode. All right, that's enough. I've been talking for 22 minutes about William McCovey all alone in my basement. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this episode, hit the like button. Let me know. Leave a comment, subscribe. Best of all, just tell one person what's going on here. I hope to see you again on Monday with a new episode. If it is your thing, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom. Everybody enjoy the weekend. And as always, may you enjoy health and long life. So long for now.